very good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for joining us. This is Channel 1 Livestream News. My name is Edward Kabasa. Our sign language interpreter this afternoon is Gideon Bogo. Welcome to the program. President Uhuru Kenyatta will on Thursday leave the country for South Africa. It is his first foreign trip since his re-election. As the State House says, the president is expected to hold bilateral talks with his South African counterpart Jacob Zuma on issues touching on trade, security and infrastructure. As President Kenyatta begins his final term in office, one of his main agendas will be strengthening Kenya's role as one of the key players of Africa's development agenda. Coming against the backdrop of a failed mission to clinch the leadership of the African Union, President Kenyatta heads to South Africa, a country whose diplomatic relations with Kenya has continued to gravitate over the years. In his first trip abroad after winning a second term in office, President Kenyatta is expected to hold talks with South Africa's Jacob Zuma on how the two countries can cement their engagement in trade, security and infrastructure. Kenya has played a key role in efforts to bring lasting peace in Somalia and South Sudan with the support of countries such as South Africa. And in other matters, the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport is set to undergo a major transformation in the next 100 days to streamline and smoothen its operations. A team of 3 cabinet secretaries made the revelations during an impromptu visit to the facility to check on areas that need immediate intervention in order to assure customers of safe and serene services at the JKIA. Roncliffe Odette accompanied the team and filed the following report.
5 days after being retained as cabinet secretaries by the head of state, Interior CS Fred Matiang'i, his transport colleague James Macharia and their tourism counterpart Najib Balala were surprise guests at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Their arrival here signaling a long morning for staff and guests at Kenya's main gateway. They were on a mission to tour the facility to ascertain levels of hospitality management and security preparedness at the airport. Interior CS Fred Matiang'i says the visit was informed of the need to make changes in the facility to meet international standards. They also want to ensure safety for visitors using the international airport.
We want absolute order here, and security must be such that we continue to attract the investors that we must attract, and those who visit our country are free to do so. They are happy to do so. When they get here, they are satisfied and they feel secure even as they come into our country.
The team traversed the airport, stopping at key areas of interest to ask hard questions.
We will not entertain any negotiation or any discussion. No one does that because this has got a bearing on the image of the country and the security. So we sit down and determine and agree. I won't care who says what. We sit down and agree. 2 operators will come to the airport in this manner. Taxi operators in this manner. Anyone else who doesn't want to comply, offend them.
Staff at the Customs Department were put to task to explain the process of clearing goods following claims that staff in the department often harass passengers.
Issues. Why do you insist that even people have nothing to declare?
Unfortunately. But of concern to the cabinet secretaries was wastage of time during clearance at the visa department.
Frankly, I think we need to think about this agenda. We need to think hard about this process. Otherwise, to continue as a bad level.
You see, the airport is getting busier and busier. Now we have about 7.5 million capacity. We are planning 12 million. Whether 12 million kills the whole image of the country is the airport. Exactly.
And in a bid to ensure international best practices of hospitality, the government says all staff working at the JKIA will undergo customer care training.
We have now appointed Utalii College. Every public servant who works here in the next 100 days must be trained and have certified examination on customer care so that we know what we are doing to our clients. These clients are bringing revenue to the country. These clients are important visitors to the country as investors, so we must know how to handle them.
The team says major changes should be expected within the next 100 days as the Jubilee administration works round the clock in delivering its promise of a smooth and seamless international airport.
You are aware recently we got granted direct flights to the US, and so we must live up to that expectation. But historically there have been gaps here, and we came as a multi-sectoral team to see how we can improve that. There are many agencies operating from this Jomo Kenyatta airport, and so we like to make sure that they all work together. That's why we're working together at ministerial level.
When you're visiting Kenya, when you land in Nairobi, this is the first contact you have with Kenya. And it must be worth the while of everyone who comes to our country.
We are here within 100 days. We must disrupt what was not working and improve what is working and make it even better. Because this is fundamental strategic institution that must work for the country.
Reporting for Channel 1 Lunchtime News, I'm Ron Cliff. OD.
Thank you very much, Ron Cliff, for waking up very early to file that report for us. And in other matters, the High Court has dismissed an election petition filed against Nyatike MP Tom Odege. The petitioner, Frederick Odiso, had filed a petition seeking the nullification of Odege's win, claiming there were massive irregularities and affected the integrity of the results that declared Odege as validly elected. The High Court, sitting in Homa Bay, has, however, dismissed that particular petition as lacking merit, a decision that will now be a relief on the former trade unionists. That story will be ready for you in our subsequent bulletins. But in other matters, 8 people believed to be family members lost their lives in a tragic road accident last evening along the Nyeri-Nyahururu road. The driver of the vehicle in which they were traveling in lost control and veered off the road at Kianugu area near Ndaragwa Trading Center. In another incident, 2 people lost their lives and at least 13 others sustained serious injuries in a road accident that occurred at Matunda Market along the Kitale-Eldoret Road.
The 8 are believed to have been heading for a funeral service in Othaya in Nyeri when the driver of the matatu lost control of the vehicle at Kianugu near the Ndaragwa forest along the Nyeri-Nyahururu road. The vehicle then veered off the road, rolling several times. 5 people, among them the driver and a child, died on the spot, while 4 others succumbed to injuries while undergoing treatment at the Nyahururu County and Referral Hospital. Several other victims are recuperating at the same hospital with serious injuries they sustained during the 7:30 p.m. accident. Some of the survivors claimed that the driver had on several occasions ignored calls to slow down before the 14-seater matatu was involved in the accident. Ndaragwa MP Jeremiah Kioni and local leaders who visited the scene and the victims at the Nyahururu hospital called on drivers to observe caution to avert such fatal accidents. In yet another crash, 2 people died and several others were injured in a road accident at Matunda Center along the Kitale-Eldoret Road.
Hii barabara yetu imekuwa na ajali sana. Hapa hii ndio ajali kubwa imefanyika na imeua watu na wengine wamejeruhiwa. Moi's Bridge imefanyika ajali kama 3 nikiwa nikishuhudia na imeua watu zaidi ya 4. Sababu watu wana overspeed kutoka mlimani wakiteremka kuelekea njia ya Eldoret.
The 2 lost their lives after the Nissan matatu they were traveling in collided with a lorry.
Kosa yamekuwa ya mtu wa lori. Yeye kijana yule amekuwa ni mlevi na tumepata habari hata afisa wa polisi wamemfukuza akapita roadblock Moi's Bridge. So amekuwa katika hali ya kutoroka. Na bahati mbaya akaja kufika Matunda hapa akashindwa kudhibiti gari.
The matatu driver died on the spot, while the other victim succumbed to injuries on the way to the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital for treatment. Survivors are recuperating at various hospitals. Locals blamed the narrow width of the road and the absence of bumps, saying it encourages drivers to speed.
Naimiza serikali yetu ijaribu kupanua hii barabara hapo. Kwa sababu hii barabara ni ndogo, kuna watu wengi wa biashara na tumefinyika sana. Kila mtu na shughuli yake, so barabara ipanuliwe ikuwe kubwa at least.
Victor Moyakane, Channel 1.
Thank you very much, Victor Moyakane, for that report. In other matters, at least 700 teachers from Kajiado County have been trained on the new education curriculum in an effort to ensure the new academic system is adopted in earnest. In the county government's chief executive in charge of education, Samuel Seki, says 400 early childhood education teachers will also be trained during the second phase that is scheduled to kick off on the 24th of this month.
With the process of implementing the new education curriculum fast gathering steam, it is all systems go in Kajiado County. The county government has already trained over 700 teachers in far-flung areas on the new system, with 400 others expected to undergo training in the next 2 weeks.
Pia tumeweza kuweka mikakati ya kutrain wakubwa wao, that is coordinators wao, na upande wa national government pia the education sector has also trained the coordinators and wameweza kufundisha na kuwatrain walimu ambao na wale wakubwa wa walimu.
Na pia tungependa kuwaomba walimu wetu waweze kuunga mkono curriculum mpya. We have to embrace new changes. Kwa hivyo tungependa kuomba walimu wetu wapokee mabadiliko ya curriculum na waweze kuanza, kwa sababu tunapoanza tutaendelea kurekebisha sehemu zile ambazo tunaona kuna changamoto.
With numerous challenges facing the education sector in the county, sensitization programs of urging residents to embrace the new curriculum has also been initiated.
Kama county tumeshikana county government pamoja na national government ili tuweze kulete mabadiliko ambayo inatakikana na national government pamoja na county government kuhakikisha ya kwamba mfumo huu mpya ambao unakuja wa elimu tumeweza kuitekeleza kwa wakati unaofaa.
County Executive in charge of education, Samuel Seki, has dismissed claims that the new system, dubbed 2633, will compromise the quality of education and favor only bright students. Seki instead says they are working closely with the national government to facilitate the adoption of the new curriculum.
We have embraced the new system of education and the new curriculum of the ECD and the upper primary. We have trained them already, and they are ready to set themselves and ready to go to start the new curriculum.
But of major concern to the county government is the prolonged drought, which may delay the adoption of the new curriculum in remote areas where pupils are yet to report to school.
Kuna watoto ambao hawajafungua shule kwa sababu ya ukame. Wazazi wao walihama na ng'ombe na watoto na wakaenda sehemu zingine.
Brenda Zedwadido, Channel 1 Lunchtime News.
You are watching Channel 1 Lunchtime News. More news after the break.
Nimeapply loan, nimemaliza. Ilikuwa imebakia pati ya guarantors wanisainia na kwa ameenda holiday, but Megadola imeingilia hapo katikati. Nimepata hiyo pesa.
Uko tayari kwa 2018?
Kwa majina naitwa Catherine Kilwake, mkaaji wa Eldoret Barini. Mimi nafanya ukulima wa poultry na nimekuwa nacheza Megadola for some time. Nimecheza, nikacheza, mpaka hata nikakuwa nimepoteza matumaini. On Friday nikapata ujumbe yenye nasema kwamba weka out 100 then utapata 100,000. Nikasema kwa sababu nimekuwa nacheza kwa muda fulani, nikasema let me do it today for the last time. Nikaweka shilingi 200 kwa Megadola account. Nikacheza hiyo out 100 mara 2. 30th Saturday saa 4 asubuhi nikapigiwa simu kutoka Megadola. Na hii pesa mimi nimepanga ku expand poultry project yangu. So nataka niwaambie wachezaji wa Megadola na hata wale wajaanza kucheza kwamba Megadola is real. Karibuni, chezeni Megadola. Hata mimi nitaendelea kucheza kwa sababu nimeamini kwamba ni kitu ya ukweli. Najua kwamba na Megadola hii 2018 niko tayari.
Hata wewe unaweza jishindia zako za school fees, biashara na mahitaji yoyote ya 2018 na Megadola. Top up kuanzia shilingi 100 kwa paybill 295888, account name KBC, na uanzie kucheza sasa. Unaweza angukia maelfu ya pesa. Happy 2018 kutoka Megadola. Big winners for the new year.
Some say it's just a game, but when the 16 biggest teams in Africa clash, the earth shakes, time stands still, and the whole continent erupts.
Celebrations on this pitch!
Only the best players who play exclusively in local teams get to represent their national team with everything they have to take home the 2018 African Nations Championship on SuperSport, your world of champions. Where there's football, there's DSTV.
This Thursday on Road to Success.
It doesn't matter where you start. Whether you're starting with cooking chapati or selling ice cream for 1 shilling, if you're determined and you know that you pray to your God, you'll actually make it.
If you don't have money to start a business, you have no business starting a business.
Road to Success. Only on KBC, Channel 1.
_1, and you are watching Channel 1 Lunchtime News. Welcome back to the program. Doctors at Naivasha Sub-County Hospital have been forced to amputate the legs of a fisherman who was over the weekend attacked by a hippo in Lake Naivasha. This came as environmentalists and the medics expressed concern over increasing cases of human-wildlife conflict in the lakeside town.
Three men went on a fishing escapade in Lake Naivasha last weekend in what was routine. Enoch Romano, John Gishinga and another friend had the prospects of making a big catch that day to cushion the hard economic times. Little did they know what was awaiting them in the lake. A herd of hippos appeared from nowhere and attacked the three, leaving one of them dead and 2 others seriously injured. According to Romano, he was laying his fishing nets near Kasarani landing beach when the hippos attacked him from behind.
Ilikuwa masaa saa 5. Nilienda kazi kama kawaida. Sasa niko juu ya boat number 5. Sasa hiyo mnyama sijui tokea wapi. Imekuja kai imenishika miguu. Sasa vile shika miguu ikavunja.
The middle-aged father of 2 whose legs have been amputated to save his life might now be forced to depend on others for survival following the incident.
Ilipovunja sasa nilipokuja hapa hivi, madaktari wakasema itawezekana mguu tena survive. Sasa ikabidi hizo miguu zikatwe. Ndio maana sasa unaona niko hivi. Kinsa nilikuwa nimesema kama watu marafiki wenye watanisaidia. Watanisaidia nipate miguu. Ndio tena niendelee na maisha yangu. Angunia yetu.
Gichinga, on the other hand, was injured on the thigh as he swam to safety.
Sasa hiyo kitu sikuwa nimeiona, ilikuwa tu imekaa ndani ya majani. Sasa juu ilikuwa kubwa vile, ilikuwa mtoi. Kanitokelezea nyuma na kunishika, kunizamisha chini ya maji. Sasa kunishika vile ikastage nishika poa, ikaniachilia kunishika poa. Ndio nikapata njia kujitoa hapo sasa.
Aliponivuruta nikaingia ndani ya maji. Sasa nilipoingia ndani ya maji wale wenzangu ndio waliniokoa. walipoona nimepiga nduru ndio wakiniokoa, so ndio ikatoroka ikaenda.
According to the nurse in charge of the male surgical ward at Naivasha Sub-County Hospital, Susan Kamau, the amputation was the only option.
He was taken immediately to theatre simply because both legs were severed off and amputation was done. And from that time, he has been having a severe pain, but today at least he's responding. He has responded quite well with medication.
Aliniacha kwa nyumba akienda kazi. Baada ya muda mfupi nikasikia amekuwa attacked na hipo. So ningependa kuomba watu wa KWS wachukulie hatua, sababu hao wanyama wanaangamiza watu wengi.
This came as environmentalists and the medics expressed concerns over increasing cases of human-wildlife conflict. The lakeside town is home to 2 major national parks, with majority of the wildlife straying out in search of pastures and water. Samson Kitavi, Lunchtime News.
Thank you very much, Samson Kitavi, for that report. And I was doing a quick research here, and hippos are actually one of those animals that kill so many human beings, if you rank them. And dogs are also there, and snakes as well, and mosquitoes are leading that pack. So I guess the human-wildlife conflict needs to be checked by the Kenya Wildlife Service. In other matters, a number of business owners in Voi Town are counting losses after fire destroyed their property. The cause of the fire that started early morning has not yet been established, although there are claims it was caused by an electric fault. Affected traders are also faulting the Taita Taveta County government firefighters for not responding in good time. They now want the county leadership to invest more in firefighting equipment to avert losses when such incidents happen in the future.
Mimi nilikuwa na saluni hapa na kila kitu kimechomeka, hakuna kitu nimeokoa, na tunaomba wazima moto waje ya kuzima moto. Na nyumba sirekebishwe, zijengwe vizuri. Kwa vile hii nyumba ingekuwa imejengwa vizuri, ingechomekewa hivyo.
Hakuna hata gari yenye inaweza kuja kusaidia mkasa kama huu, kwa sababu huu mkasa umetokea kama saa 11 na tangu saa 11 hatujapata hata usaidizi wowote. Ni sisi wenyewe tumeng'ang'ana.
Kile kitu wangefanya ya kwamba wasichukulie gari waweke mbali. Gari nitakana ikae karibu na town, so that kitu kikitokea kitendo kama hichi kia kusababisha hasara kubwa kama hii, wananchi at least wafikie hiyo gari mapema iweze kuwasaidia.
Other matters, drought-stricken residents of Balambala constituency in Garissa County and its environs are set to benefit from a drought mitigation program that will ensure continuous supply of water. Speaking in Nuno area, Member of Parliament Abdi Omar Shurie said he is working closely with the national and county governments as well as other donors to ensure that relief food is availed to victims.
Residents of Balambala constituency in Garissa County and its environs have been hard hit by a drought that has prolonged since August last year. They have been depending on water trucks and relief assistance. In a bid to alleviate the burden, Area Member of Parliament Abdi Omar Shurie launched a drought mitigation program that is set to benefit residents. The drought mitigation program will enable water supply. Shurie said 30 water storage tanks with a capacity between 5,000 and 10,000 liters will be distributed to villages along the Garissa-Modogashe Road and will be supplied on a regular basis by 2 water bowsers. Several herders have crossed over to neighboring counties of Meru and Isiolo in search of water and pasture for their livestock.
Since they have taken most of their camels and the cattle to far-flung areas so that we can take care of the kids and the mamas who have been left in the villages. And this is just to relieve them in the short term. And we pray and hope that the rains will come
Speaking in Uno, the MP said they are working closely with the national and county government and other donors to ensure relief assistance is availed to those affected.
With the help of the national government and the county government, we want to find a permanent solution for the water problem so that at least this helps them to reduce the problem of that they are facing. Anyways, we cannot alleviate.
Among the plans to end the perennial water shortage include the sinking of boreholes.
In other matters, Kiambu County government intends to put up affordable houses to bridge the housing deficit that has seen county residents live in decent houses area. Deputy Governor James Nyoro says the decision to roll out the plan was in conformity with the Jubilee government's manifesto that seeks to ensure every Kenyan has access to affordable housing.
Being classified among the richest counties in the country, thousands of residents continue to live in deplorable conditions. The county is littered with slums such as Kiandutu in Thika and Mystery in Limuru, with large number of families living in indecent houses. A situation Kiambu County Deputy Governor James Nyoro says the county government is keen to reverse.
Tuko na commitment ya kuinua maisha ya watu wa Kiambu. Na hivi punde tutaanza miradi ya kujenga manyumba, kuinua slums. Tuko na mpango wa kuinua slums, tukishirikiana pamoja na watu wengine ambao watakuwa katika PPP na serikali kubwa pia.
Speaking in Nachu, where he commissioned a house to a family where a 10-year-old boy was burning charcoal to feed his family, Nyoro said that the county will soon embark on a public-private partnership in a bid to build different housing segments at affordable prices across the county.
Tukitaka kuambia watu, hata kama mko chini sana, mjue ya kwamba serikali ya Kiambu inawajali sana, na haswa wakazi kabisa wale wanaitwa wakazi wa Kiambu kutoka Ndeya mpaka Gatuanyaga.
Nyoro, who spoke while flanked by Area Chief Minister David Ngare, also promised to connect the various homesteads in the area to the national grid.
Na tutakuwa na mpango kama vile umeona, tuko na MCA wa area hii, tuko na MCAs wengine wa hapa, na MCA wote wa Kiambu tumeongea. Tutachukua record ya watu ambao wako na shida aina hii, na tutaendelea sisi tukitumia pesa ya county, tukitumia wale ambao tutashikana pamoja, tuone vile watasaidika.
Many private developers and locals are currently using prefabricated building technology and alternative building materials such as expanded polystyrene panels instead of the usual concrete blocks and stones, reducing the cost of putting up houses. For Channel 1 Lunchtime News, I'm Emily Keibade.
Let's now cross our borders. Former First Lady of Zimbabwe, Grace Mugabe, is currently under investigation by the Zimbabwe Anti-Corruption Agency on whether or not the former First Lady deceptively attained a doctorate degree.
Of Zimbabwe filed a petition asking the Anti-Corruption Agency to further look into Zimbabwe's former First Lady Grace Mugabe, claiming that she was awarded a doctorate months after enrolling at the institution in 2014, despite the fact that one requires years of continuous research to graduate. Grace had earlier defended her academic record, stating that she had rightfully earned her PhD. Local media report that her doctorate thesis has not been made public, which is out of the norm. Grace had hoped to substitute her husband's political seat as Zimbabwe's president, but provoked a division of the ruling ZANU-PF party. The military then stepped in and forced President Mugabe to end his 37-year rule and replaced him with his former deputy, Emerson Mnangagwa.
US President Donald Trump has said it will be fun to run against television personality Oprah Winfrey amid calls for Oprah to run for the US president in 2020.
U.S. President Donald Trump told reporters during a meeting to discuss immigration reforms with U.S. senators that he would defeat Oprah if he ran against her in the 2020 general elections. In 2015, Trump suggested that Oprah would be his top pick for vice president a week after announcing his candidacy. His daughter, Ivanka Trump, joined the mass of Twitter supporters by praising the TV mogul's speech at the Golden Globe Awards. Ivanka has also been subject of rumors about her potential presidential ambitions.
Allah, 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 Allah. I see the sun, the stars, the moon. I join them all in praising you.
Je, umejenga msikiti, umechimba kisima, au umemfunza mtu elimu ambayo itamfaidi atakapokuwa duniani mpaka atakapoondoka? Haya ni mojawapo ya maneno ambayo yatakuachieni sadaqatul jariya baada yako kuondoka kwenye dunia.
Allah, 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 Allah. I feel alive and I feel so good. I feel so close to you. Oh, oh.
Jill, you chose the wrong side.
Sissy, I'm always on your side, but not when you're losing, honey.
I don't want your family's money, Tiff.
But that baby comes with it.
Take my life as an example. I mean, I live in fear, and my own daughter thinks I'm a monster.
Saka, just make sure Mike does not suspect anything. Otherwise, our plan is as good as gone.
The next time, utapula move. Kuchukua malaika, ule mchukua last time. I will pass my against you.
After we're done, you get your promo, and I get your enjoy. So, what is it going to be?
Just to say, money trees is the perfect place for shade, and that's just how.
Welcome back to the program. Time for business. The Energy Committee of the National Assembly plans to summon senior officials of the Kenya Power to shed light on various issues, among them the controversial billing system for last month once the House reopens. The legislators have questioned why Kenya Power did not pilot the new billing system before rolling it out. Kenya Power has admitted that most bills that customers received for December were erratic and urged them to reconcile it with the utility firm.
There have been reports that Kenya Power plans to review monthly power bills with the aim of recovering the fuel charge that was not passed on to consumers last year. This has been dismissed by the Energy Cabinet Secretary Charles Carter, who said the higher electricity bills that consumers have been having in recent months was a result of the increase in fuel charge that had risen to 4 shillings and 35 cents per kilowatt hour from 2 shillings and 31 cents per kilowatt hour in April last year. However, a section of legislators are not satisfied with this explanation.
So the blame squarely falls on Ken Taru's door. Him as the MD indicated in their financial books of 2017 that the company had incurred 10.1 billion for fuel levy, which was to be recovered from the Kenyan consumer. He again stated that they had already recovered 2 billion. The question that arises is, why did the company declare dividends for the financial year ended 30 June 2017 instead of declaring a loss of 10.1 billion?
The legislators who are members of the Energy Committee of the National Assembly plan to summon the senior officials of Kenya Power to shed light on various issues affecting the utility firm once Parliament resumes its sittings in February.
And who gave them the authority to recover this money from the consumers? Were there minutes? Was there a board? Was there any communication between them and ERC? And we will not agree that the price and the cost of electricity goes high. Somebody will therefore be tasked to explain, and Kenya Power will be a subject of investigation when we resume.
The legislators are calling for a thorough scrutiny of Kenya Power books, claiming that there could be some financial impropriety. Regina Manyara-Gitao reporting for Channel 1 Business.
Thank you very much, Regina Manyara-Gitao, for that report. And in other matters, news that Kenya Airways is set to commence direct flight to the U.S. later this year has been warmly received by those in the horticultural industry. They say direct flight will reduce the freight cost of cut flowers by 3 times, as well as the duration it takes to ferry the produce to the U.S., hence help Kenya grow her market share from the current 1%.
While the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act afforded Kenya and other developing countries duty-free access of some goods into the U.S. market, the cut flower subsector, which is Kenya's top forex earner, has remained underexploited. Kenya currently commands a 1% market share of the lucrative market. A number of reasons, including lack of direct flights into the market, have been a major challenge for Kenya. This gap has seen countries like Colombia and Ecuador hog the market. Key issues have been that the cost of freight and transport depends on several factors, such as flight availability, internal regulations in the country of origin, and the volume of flowers shipped. This therefore means that air freight costs are a key factor limiting the success of cut flower exports into the U.S. market. For instance, air freight cost for cut flowers from Bogota in Colombia to Miami is $1.10 per kilo, while Kenya pays 3 times higher for a similar cargo. While Kenya ranks as the first world exporter of roses to the European Union, commanding a 38% market share, it is doing badly in the U.S. market, yet roses make up the majority of exports at 78%. Kenya's cut flowers are presently expensive in the U.S. market, owing to the long distances exporters have to cover before eventually venturing into the lucrative market, going by per capita consumption during special days, including Valentine's or Mother's Day, when many people in the U.S. buy flowers. This is set to drastically reduce once Kenya Airways commences direct flights to the U.S. later this year. In addition, the duration it takes to ferry cut flowers will reduce, thus help Kenya secure more market for her horticultural produce in the U.S. Judith Akolo, Channel 1 Business.
Flowers to a story that makes butterfly even more beautiful. Over 7,000 farmers living near the Arabuko Sokoke forest in Malindi are reaping heavily from butterfly farming, with locals terming the discovery their flying gold. The farmers hunt for butterflies from the forest, breed their eggs for 3 to 4 weeks to the pupa stage, and then sell them.
It may come as a surprise to many who don't know how lucrative butterfly farming can be. For farmers living near the Arabuko Sokoke forest in Malindi, it has been a rewarding initiative since 1993, with farmers earning up to 20,000 shillings weekly.
Mebadilisha. Maana hapo mwanzo kulikuwa kuna hali ngumu kwa sababu watu walikuwa wanazunguka huku na huku kutafuta kazi au kutafuta vibarua. Lakini tangu anze huu mradi tunaona kwamba wengi tumetulia na tunaona tunafanya kazi vizuri.
Tunamshukuru Mungu sana. Manake tumepata masoko kiasi cha kwamba tuna matumaini makubwa mwaka huu tutapata faida kubwa.
It is believed that Kenya has over 871 species of butterflies, with 263 of them found in the Arabuko Sokoke forests. Taking advantage of their abundance, farmers confine the butterflies in cages and wait for them to lay eggs that take up to 4 weeks to reach the pupa stage when they are sold for onward export.
Kwa hivyo tunawapeleka kule nje wakati wakiwa katika stage ya cocoon ama pupa, wakapasukia kule, wapepee kule. Kuna kipepeo anayependwa zaidi kupita wale wengine, huyu anaitwa Papiliodadanus. Huyu kipepeo anapendwa sana na pia uhitaji wake ni mkubwa zaidi. Na huyu pamoja na pia Papilioconstantinus, pia hawa pia nao soko lao pia ni nzuri.
With assistance from a local organization, the farmers are trained on how to collect different butterflies and breed them in their homemade cages. It is from here that the farmers sort different species, especially those that command higher prices at the market.
We are working with almost over 400 farmers. Out of these farmers, we have those active breeders and those seasonal breeders. The active breeders, I mean that the one that we work with them from January to December, they breed throughout the year, but also we have those small-scale breeders, kind of a seasonal farmers. They normally kind of bring the products during the rainy season between April to August.
The farmers, however, have to contend with the challenge of a booming production cycle, especially during the rainy seasons, and competition from high butterfly producing countries such as Philippines and Ecuador.
Mwanzo kama vifaa vya kufugia, hiyo ni changamoto kubwa, na nyingine ni masoko. Pia masoko tukipata kwa wingi tutashukuru zaidi, maana kazi itakuwa, tukifanya kazi itakuwa ina malipo kweli.
Nicholas Nduati, Business Defined.
And in other matters, the World Bank projects that the global economic growth is likely to speed up this year after a stronger than expected 2017. The bank's new forecast is that the world economy will expand by 3.1% this year before slowing slightly. Details of this and other business international stories next.
Time since the financial crisis that growth is operating at its full potential. However, the World Bank report warns the upswing will be short-term, with gains in improving living standards and reducing poverty levels at risk long-term. For the immediate future, the bank sees a reasonable upbeat prospect. The forecast is better than what the bank was expecting in its previous assessment in June. Among the larger economies, the up rating is especially marked for Eurozone, though the bank thinks it will slow somewhat this year by less than its previous forecast. Emerging and developing economies will grow slightly faster this year in its forecast. Elsewhere, oil prices hit their highest level since 2014 today, fueled by the ongoing production cuts led by OPEC, as well as healthy demand. Although analysts cautioned that the current oil supply might not be meeting the demand, a broad global market rally, including stocks, has also been fueling investment into crude oil futures. Light crude oils rose by 0.5%, while the U.S. West Texas Intermediate light crude rose 0.8%. Investors say the extension of OPEC agreement and declining inventories are all helping to drive the price higher. The cuts, which have mostly targeted Europe and North America, were aimed at reducing a global supply overhang that had dogged oil markets since 2014. Finally, the head of Britain's biggest trade union will warn Peugeot's chief executive at a meeting this month that any plan to close the firm's Vauxhall car plant in northern England will cost its sales in Opel Vauxhall's largest market. Peugeot's market PSA bought General Motors' loss-making European arm, which operates as Opel on the continent and Vauxhall in Britain last year, and has been pursuing a restructuring plan to return to profitability. The French group says it cut a further 250 jobs at its Osma car plant in Britain, reducing the workforce by a third to make it more efficient, renewing workers' fears about the site's future.
Take a look at sport. Bristol City's impressive run that saw the championship side beat Manchester United in the Carabao Cup quarterfinals is now under threat after they lost 2-1 to Manchester City in the first leg of their semi-final tie that was played at the Etihad Stadium.
Against Manchester United, has a good go against Manchester City. Could be something on here for Bristol City.
Bristol City having scored the most goals in the Carabao Cup this season, with 12 of the 17 goals scored coming against Premier League opposition. It took the lead from the penalty spot after Bobby Reid was brought down by John Stones.
Brownhill putting the pressure on Mangala, could get away here, Brownhill. Finding Bobby Reid, Stones goes in with the challenge. Bristol City have a penalty.
However, a great play from Kevin De Bruyne and Raheem Sterling saw the Belgian equalise for the host, that is Manchester City, 10 minutes into the second half.
Kevin De Bruyne finding Leroy Sané. Sané maybe a touch too many again, and he's dragged it wide anyway. Raheem Sterling, De Bruyne alongside him. Sterling will go himself. Fielding able to get it away. De Bruyne charges at Bristol.